All right, we are live here with a Schloss rant from the Philadelphia suburbs here. Yankees game one of the World Series. We are about 2 hours and 8 minutes away from this New York Yankee game starting and the quest for championship number 28. We got myself, Schloss, right here. You might hear some dogs barking. No, it's not Mike and the Mad Dog. I got two dogs in here with me hanging out. If you hear them barking, you'll know why. They're just as pumped for game one of this World Series. And just like the great Mike Francesa, we're going to be drinking Diet Coke. No, this is not sponsored by Diet Coke. If anyone out there has a plug for Diet Coke to get these Schloss Rant live streams sponsored, please let me know. We're going to be recording this, putting this up on Spotify as well, breaking down the World Series, not just game one, but we'll start with game one in just a little bit as we have first sip of that Diet Coke there, just like the great Mike Francesa would. Drinking out of a can, not a bottle like him, 12 ounces, not 20. Anyways, the Yankees are in the World Series, and tonight is going to be game one. Of course, you got Garrett Cole going with Flaherty for the Dodgers. Now, I want to start this off by talking about the hat that we got going on tonight, hat that we're wearing here. We got the 96 World Series hat. Let's see if we can get the patch. There it is. Now, I'm bringing this up because I could not find anywhere. Now, I get that I'm in Philly. I'm not in New York. I'm not in North Jersey. I'm not in Connecticut. I could not find this 2024 hat with the patch on the side. Couldn't find it anywhere. Went to order it online, MLB store, Dick's Sporting Goods. Wasn't going to get here till November. What's the point? If I can't go buy this hat and I'm out here ready to drop, the $43 on the hat, I can't find it anywhere. What's the point of making the hats if you can't get it to people even one state away? Just absolutely ridiculous. I want to buy the 2024 hat. Yankees haven't been in the World Series in 15 years. I'm out here saying, I'll spend the money and buy the hat, and I can't even buy a Yankees 2024 hat or the 2024 World Series patch on the side. Just ridiculous. Now, let's talk about a bunch of things legacy-wise that's on the line. Number one, let's start with Giancarlo Stanton. We all know he was the ALCS MVP. He absolutely raked. He mashed. He had 4 home runs in the series against Cleveland, 9 RBIs, along with clutch home runs all series long, clutch home runs in that Kansas City series too. I think this guy's the key because his home runs, they seem to come at clutch moments. They seem to travel really far, and it seems to break the opposing pitcher. What's on the line for Stanton? The fact that this guy at one point, right when he got traded to the Yankees after the 2017 season, he looked like a surefire, no doubt about it, Hall of Famer, coming off a 57 home run season and MVP with the Miami Marlins. What's on the line for him now is he's kind of played his way out of the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, because of the low batting average, because of the low on-base percentage, struggling to get on base at a 30% clip, struggling to stay on the field. He's looking really no more better than a David Arthur Kingman. If you remember the great Sid Rosenberg on FAN, how he called Dave Kingman. Kingman was a player for, I believe, the Reds and also the Mets, similar to a George Foster, who was also the Reds, but Foster was on those Reds 70s teams that won the championships. And I bring up David Kingman because he was a guy who hit a lot of home runs, not much else. Stanton was kind of trending towards that. But the fact that he's been able to dominate in the postseason brings him to a different stratosphere, a different category. And if the Yankees are able to win the World Series as a result of his offensive prowess, I think he's played himself back into the Hall of Fame. Next guy who's got some legacy on the line here for the Yankees is Garrett Cole. I think that Garrett Cole, what's on the line for him here is, look, he was on the Astros team in 2019 that lost to the Nationals in the World Series. He's been in a lot of big postseason games with the Yankees, with the Astros. But what's on the line for him here, he's got to show up tonight. He's got to have that dominant ace performance. He's got to go out there, toe the rubber. He's got to go 7 innings. I'm not interested in 5 1/3, 2 runs. I'm not interested in 6 innings, 3 runs. No, I'm interested in 7 strong innings, 1, 2 runs. Maybe you give up 3. Okay, keep your team in the game. And, keep your team in the game wouldn't be dominant, but give me some depth if you're just going to keep your team in the game. I want this bullpen to be freshly rested. I want them to be out there ready for game 2 in case they need to go to them early with Rodon, of course, pitching. And what I want to see from Cole as well is I want to see him pull what Madison Bumgarner did 10 years ago in 2014. I want to see him come out of the bullpen, maybe on a throw day. Maybe it's the top of the 7th inning. Maybe the Dodgers are sending up Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, and they need to go at them 1, 2, 3 in a small deficit game, up a run, down a run, whatever the case might be. I need him to come out and do that too. I don't know if Boone's going to deploy him to do that, but I'd like to see that as well, on top of having strong starts in game 1 and game 5. I'd like to see him, like I said, on that throw day, whether it's game 3 or game 4, depending on when the schedule works out. I'd like to see him come out and pitch strong an inning there too. I'd like to see if it goes 7 games, I'd like to see him come out and finish game 7 and bring it home for the Yankees. That's what I want to see from Cole. You do that, you cement yourself definitely much, much closer towards that Hall of Fame stuff. You get bombed in the postseason, it's not going to look good. He's pitched to like a 3 ERA thus far in the postseason, 3.3 ERA. So it's been good, but I need to see dominant. I need to see depth. I need to see more innings if possible. And I need to see him do whatever it takes for the team to win. What's on the line here for Juan Soto? And we'll get to Judge after. But what's on the line for Soto, quite frankly, is money. He's already won the championship. He's shown you he could be the best player on a championship team with the Nationals in 2019. You might want to argue that Rendon was a little better, but then fine, he was the 1A. He was pretty darn close. And he did that at 20 years old. It's his 26th birthday today for game 1. He could only add to his bank account and add to his legacy. Even if he leaves the Yankees, goes to the Mets, goes to the Giants or something like that, if they offer him a crazy amount of money, he can go ahead and add to his bank account, add to his legacy, and be the 1A on 2 championship teams, the 2019 Nationals and, of course, the 24 Yankees. That's what's on the line for Soto. If there's a weakness for Soto, and this is a little more tactical and technical here, he hit 169 against sliders in the regular season. So if you're a guy like Flaherty, and I look it up, Flaherty's slider with the Dodgers, 317 average. He doesn't really have the slider to neutralize him. Blake Treinen out of the bullpen, his slider is in the low 100s in terms of batting average. So that's going to be a way to try to get him out if you're the Dodgers. And throwing him strikes, because if you get him in those counts where you can throw him slider, where you can throw stuff off the plate, not that Soto's going to be chasing stuff, but you can throw a slider that maybe dives down, then you got a real good shot to keep him out or to get him out and keep his balls in the ballpark. That's what's on the line there for Soto. Pad in the bank account, being a guy to lead in terms of being a 1A, possibly a 1 with the Nationals in 2019, but a guy who's up there as one of the best hitters and win multiple championships within a 5-year period here, 2019 to 2024. I guess a 6-season period, but 5 calendar years. What's on the line for Judge? Look, Judge already has over 300 home runs. He's well on the way to a Hall of Fame. As long as he doesn't run into the wall at Dodger Stadium, as long as he doesn't get hit by a pitch, this is a guy who's been dominant. He's had multiple 50s, 3 years where he's had 50-plus home runs, throwing the fact that 2020 was a COVID season. That counts against him in terms of his 8 years in the major league. So 1 COVID season, 3 years over 50 home runs. Other years where he'd been dominant, close to a 400 on base percentage. This is a guy who hit 322 in the regular season, 58 home runs, 144 driven in. If he can cap this season off, of course he's going to win the MVP, but cap it off with a World Series title as well to go along with it, that'll go a long way for his legacy for Aaron Judge, 100%. So we want to see what he can do tonight. He has not done particularly well this postseason. We all know the struggles, but he did hit home runs in back-to-back games. He hit a home run that'll probably be forgotten, that game in which Cleveland had the crazy comeback. So we like what we saw from Judge from that standpoint. Listen, regular season numbers are great. Beating up bad pitching is great. But when you're doing it for the Yankees, it's the postseason that counts. Whether it's Derek Jeter, whether it's Bernie Williams, whether it's Posada, Paul O'Neill, whoever from the Yankee teams of the past, A-Rod in 2009 even. Only thing that matters is a championship. You just got to win one. It's hard to do what the 96 to 2000 Yankees did, where you ended up winning 4 in 5 years. That's hard to do, including a three-peat. But you win one, you're no longer in the Don Mattingly best Yankee to not win a World Series. You're in the conversation of at least Alex Rodriguez, best player on a championship team. And, if he can do it with a strong postseason performance, that would help. I'm repping the Captain Clutch Derek Jeter shirt here as well. So I want to see Judge come out strong. Now, something that I don't like to see, you don't like to see from the Yankees, is the fact that the Dodgers this postseason with runners in scoring position, they're in 3-11 as Sammy makes her first back of the live here, Schloss rant on YouTube, soon to be uploaded on Spotify. Dodgers are hitting 311 with runners in scoring position, while the Yankees are hitting only 181. Now, you can say the Yankees have been clutch in terms of Stanton, in terms of Judge, that home run in the American League Championship Series, but you got to get it done with runners in scoring position. The highlight of these Yankee teams in the Judge era, 2017 till now, is in the postseason they can't get the big hit. Yeah, they might be able to hit a solo home run, but they can't get the big hit, second and third with 2 outs, a single up the middle, a single to left field, single to right field, or even, you got a runner on third base with less than 2 outs. They can't even put the ball in play to drive him in. They don't do a good job in terms of bringing in these runners in scoring position. That's not good, especially when you look at what the Dodgers have done. What else do we got here? Game 3 or Game 4 for the Dodgers standpoint is going to be kind of interesting because we know the Dodgers only have 3 starting pitchers. We know that they're going to be into the bullpen games for one of those, depending on what Roberts and the staff wants to do. Those analytical guys, Freeman running the front office for the Dodgers. So let's say it's the bullpen game in Game 3, okay? You know that in Game 4, you're going to have a starting pitcher who's not going to have a strong bullpen in terms of rest behind him. You want to get to them if the Dodgers come out in Game 3 with the bullpen game, which would be the first game at Yankee Stadium. You have to get to that starter then in Game 4. If they go bullpen in Game 4 and a starter in Game 3, well, in advance they're going to need that bullpen for Game 4, so you got to get to that starter. So that's a tricky spot for the Dodgers. But the Dodgers in this postseason, when they do a bullpen game, the record of the bullpen, quote unquote, is 2-1 with a 4 ERA. While the fact that the starters, Walker Buehler, traditional starters, Buehler, and of course Flaherty, and of course Yamamoto, the kid from Japan, they have a 5 ERA. So I think the fact that you have opportunities here where the traditional starters, the true starters for the Dodgers, are not as good as what you're seeing with the Yankees, if you factor in especially what you saw from Rodon in the American League Championship Series, plus Cole's consistency throughout the postseason pitching, of course, to that 3.3 ERA. Throw in, maybe you get something good here from Clark Schmidt, who's been okay. The ERA has been low, but he's going 4 1/3. You don't like to see that. You need a little more depth if you're a starting pitcher because the Yankee bullpen's been good. Of course, Canley's come in. You like in spots what you've seen, of course, from Clay Holmes, the former closer. You love what you see from the closer now in Flaherty. You love what you see from Hill. And what Hill's able to do as a left-hander here, and we're going to talk about specifically with Ohtani. I know we're bouncing all over the place here, but what Hill is able to do, Ohtani struggles, quote-unquote, against lefties. He only slugs .518 against them, which is 231 points lower than what he slugs against righties. So, that's not really struggling if you're slugging .518. But at any rate, the true spot in which Ohtani struggles against lefties are guys that throw from that left-handed side a little more sidearm. And that's what Hill's able to do. So Hill can neutralize Ohtani in big spots late in the game. These stats courtesy of MLB.com, some of these advanced numbers here. And the one thing, though, that I got to point out about Ohtani, though, I can't stand this. First of all, the stuff that happened before the season with the fall guy, I don't love that. It's sketchy. I don't love it. I don't love that the guy never talks. He's the best player in baseball if you factor in the pitching. If not, then you go Judge. And the fact that he don't talk to anyone ever, and he, just a little ridiculous because baseball tries to market their stars like Judge, like Ohtani, makes it really tough here. But what I don't like about Ohtani, you're getting $700 million a year. That's great and all. Freddie Freeman, your teammate, the guy can barely stand up. You can't go out there and, maybe it's too much of a stretch to learn first base, but you can't go out there, have the Dodgers slide Muncy over to first base and you go play right field. And you're probably saying, oh, well, he's, his arm's injured. That's why he didn't pitch. Look it up. There's a video, August 24th. He's thrown off a mound right off the Dodger broadcast. What I read as far back as August 8th, from 150 feet, he was throwing at 85%. That's August 8th. That's 2.5 months ago. He can't go out and play right field. Can't go play right field. Yankee Stadium right field is 314. Not a lot of ground to cover in terms of making throws. His teammate can barely stand. He can't push off his foot to run, to drive the ball for power because of that injury. Ohtani should be a better teammate, and Roberts and the Dodgers staff should do a better job of saying, we're paying you $700 million. Would it kill you to go out and play right field? I understand you're not really an outfielder, but he's done it with the Angels before. He's played the outfield. Not that hard. He's got a big arm. I understand it's hurt, but he's shown you that right now, throughout his recovery process, he's more than capable of throwing the ball. So Ohtani, of course, he's not going to pitch the series. So Yankees don't have to worry about him from that standpoint, but he's a great hitter. And the big three hitters for the Yankees, Judge, Stanton, and Soto. We lump Judge in there not because of his postseason performance thus far, but just because of the fact of what he's done. He's Aaron Judge. They had a 1,112 OPS in the ALCS with 11 homers. No one else on the team hit a home run. Not Austin Wells, not Gleyber Torres, who's got on base 8 out of the 9 times, 8 out of the 9 games so far to start off the game or start off their half of the inning. But the rest of the Yankees hit 281 in that ALCS, which is pretty good. I know it's an old school stat. So really the key for the Yankees is if those 3 big guys aren't hitting, Torres has got to continue to set the tone from the leadoff spot. He'll be leading off the game tonight playing at second base. And the other guy's got to contribute. Maybe Austin Wells. I love his swing. He's got that pure left-handed swing. Maybe he steps up and does something. Chisholm, who's just struggled beyond belief, maybe he gets a hold of something, has a big game. The former Dodger, Verdugo, maybe he's able to do something. He had a good start to the postseason, had a couple hits in that game 1 against the Royals. Maybe he's the X factor at that bottom of the lineup. So definitely a lot to look forward to. Look, this is the matchup that Major League Baseball wants. If you're a Yankee fan, obviously you want this like myself. We haven't been back here in 15 years. If you're a Dodger fan, these are the 2 premier franchises in terms of the star power. Freeman, Betts, Ohtani, Judge, Stanton, Soto, Cole, of course, for the Yankees. This is what you want to see. And if you're not if you're a big-time sports fan, to quote the great Christopher Mad Dog Russo, you're a big-time sports fan, you should be into this, even if you're not a big baseball guy, because it's the Yankees, it's the Dodgers, it's star power. Baseball in the postseason is tremendously exciting. There's a lot of situational stuff, second and third, 2 outs, down a run, a lot of drama, stress, edge of the seat type of stuff. And if you're not into it, I don't know what to tell you, because it's the Yankees and the Dodgers. First time in the World Series since 1981. Of course, they, 55, them bums from Brooklyn, they won. Dodgers left New York. A lot of guys, 70, 75, give or take, maybe a little older, maybe more like 75, 80 for New York. They were big-time Dodger fans and had their team left them. So that's always an interesting storyline as well here if you're a Dodger fan. So it's going to be great. Now, if you want to take a little shot at something here in terms of, I'm a Yankee fan. I can't go out there and say, go bet the Dodgers. I can't even really go out there and say, bet the Yankees, because my heart's too invested. But if you want to put a flyer out on something, you go maybe Luke Weaver to win the MVP at plus 10,000. There's a scenario that could definitely play out. I mean, he's had, multiple 5-inning saves. Maybe he saves 3 or 4 games even. Maybe 2 or 3 of them are 5 outs. Maybe one of the, maybe he closes out game 7 with 6 outs. You never know. You never know how these bullpens are going to be used. You never know how they're feeling. Bullpens are very finicky, but maybe there's a spot in which these games are low scoring and Weaver steps up, does the job. Maybe he wins a game. There's a lot of opportunities, and the fact that he's been a pretty darn good reliever for the Yankees since he's been moved to that closer role, it definitely presents some of an opportunity that if you have a small flyer, not big, but a small one, I think it's worth the shot there. I think anything else, how could you commit to Judge in this spot? Because he just hasn't shown you in the postseason he's been a dominant player. Could he do it in the World Series? I sure hope so. I'm a Yankee fan. Been with this team since 95. 95, I remember Donnie Baseball and them losing to Seattle. 96, Game 6, my dad was at the game. He's got pictures on an old school, film camera of Wade Boggs riding that horse after the Yankees won. I remember parading around the living room with my mom at 10:45 at night as a 7-year-old. So excited that the Yankees won the World Series. So I go back with this team. And if you've listened to me in the past, I'll tell you, and I truly think this still. I know everything about the Yankees. There's not a thing about the Yankees that I don't know in terms of mainstream stuff. Could I tell you where Mickey Mantle ate on, April 19th of 1962? No, I couldn't. But in terms of mainstream stuff, in terms of breaking down DiMaggio, Berra, Mantle, even going into the 80s like Winfield, Reggie Jackson, I can tell you all about it. Chambliss in 76 against the Royals in the American League Championship Series. I could tell you all about it. I could break down that 0-1 loss where Mariano Rivera threw the ball into center field because the great Buck Showalter, in designing that Diamondback ballpark, put a little patch of dirt from home plate to the pitcher's mound. Rivera couldn't pick the ball up and he threw it away. I can ramble all day. I know it all. I read books about the Yankees. I could break down Hank Bauer. I can break down Jerry Coleman. I could break down the great Phil Rizzuto, tell you all about those teams in the 50s. Jerry Coleman, who ended up doing the Padre games on radio. I know it all. I know everything about the New York Yankees. There's not a thing that I do not know when it comes to the New York Yankees. So I'm pumped up. I'm excited. You all should be too. This is Yankee baseball, Yankee postseason baseball. And if you're my age in the mid to late 30s, it just feels right seeing our team, seeing our New York Yankees in the World Series. It happened, 96 win the World Series. 97 they lose to Cleveland in Game 5 there. 98 you sweep the Padres. 99 you beat the Braves. 2000 you get rid of the Mets in 5 games. 01 you lose 7 games in which you only scored 14 runs in the season, or 14 runs in the series. And then 03 you're back and you lose to the Marlins, Josh Beckett in Game 6, did you? And then 09 you get back and you win it all against the Phillies. And, pretty good Phillies team that had won it in 08. So it feels right. Feels great that we're back in here. First time in 15 years. Let's go Yankees. Can't make myself any more simple about that. There's no other angle than the fact that this goes back to a 6 or 7-year-old boy in Valley Stream, New York, bordering Queens, Rosedale, Queens, cheering on the Yankees, watching the game on TV, staying up till 10:45 at night, knowing his dad's at the game, jealous as all can be that, he only had one extra ticket from a buddy, and I wasn't there watching. So go Yankees. That's what it comes down to. There's no other agenda. There's no other angle. Let's go Yankees. I love this team. I love the Yankees. I might not be as into baseball as I once was, but it doesn't matter. This is the New York Yankees. This is the team of record in North American professional sports. All right. So let's go Yankees. All right. Let's talk about some other things here. Let's get this out of the way. LeBron and Bronny, all right? Quite frankly, it's more of an accomplishment for LeBron, the fact that he's been able to have this type of longevity, the fact that he takes care of his body, the fact that he's still an effective player, and the fact that the Lakers would want to appease him by drafting his son. It's a cool sports story. If you're poo-pooing, Bronny James playing 2 minutes and 45 seconds, grabbing a rebound, sports is supposed to be fun. This is fun. Now, it's not like the Griffeys because both of them hit a home run in the same game. They both contribute. You tell me Bronny goes and drops, 13 points off the bench on 3 of 6 from deep and, steals a couple of balls. I'll tell you that's amazing. But till I see that, it's not really worth getting too crazy here if you're a fan of the Lakers or LeBron. It's a cool story, though. So anyone else saying any different, you got to have your head examined. It's a fun story. Sports are fun. Get over it. All right, let's talk about the Giants here. And they lost to the Eagles over the weekend. Saquon Barkley comes back to North Jersey, absolutely dominates. And the Giants can't beat the Eagles. I understand they beat them at the end of last year when the Eagles were in absolute free fall. But the Giants' problem, they can't beat the Eagles. They can't beat the Cowboys. They can't play at home. The quarterback is not the answer. I would bench him right now. I'd put in Drew Lock. I'd see what I got. Lock won a game last year on Monday night for Seattle. I'd see what I have with Drew Lock, period, end of sentence. Jones is not the answer. You're going to release him. You're going to have that $25 million or so in dead cap, and it's going to be what it is. Because at a certain point, you can continue to try to change the coach, system, GM, whatever the case might be. At the end of the day, Jones was his best overall in 2019, in which not Kevin Gilbert. What's the coach? I don't even remember the stupid coach's name anymore. It's been so long because they shuffle all these coaches. Pat Shurmur, there we go. He was the best under Shurmur in the 1 year that him and Shurmur worked together. Jones had 24 passing touchdowns, I believe. He had multiple games in which he had 5 total touchdowns, whether through the air or on the ground. You can tell me about this great year in 2022, but quite frankly, he threw 15 touchdowns. They tried to work around Jones. He was not a focal point of the offense. They tried to get the ball to Barkley just as much. So it's okay that they moved off of Barkley. This is not a championship team. This is not a great team. They'll win 5 or 6 games. I thought they would win over 7, but they'll win 5 or 6 games with Jones and Barkley. They'll win 5 or 6 games with just Jones. They might do the same thing with Drew Lock. I don't know. But you have to move on from Daniel Jones. I think at a certain point, he is what he is. Might he have a renaissance with someone else? Yeah, it's possible. But I can't continue down this road because what it's created for myself and other Giant fans is just a tremendous, 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 tremendous amount of apathy. We're sick and tired of it. It's boring. It's not exciting. Even when they were 2-3, I was like, all right, maybe they're going to kind of be in the middle of the pack. Maybe they'll get to that over 7 wins. I can't do it. There's no joy in watching the football team every Sunday or Monday or Thursday. There's no joy at all. So move on from him. I wouldn't go fire Shane and Dable. I mean, look, you create a tricky situation because you're going to bring in a new quarterback if you move on from Judge. He's not going to be a top pick because they're not going to have a top pick because they're going to win enough games to not be where Carolina is in terms of winning 1, 2, or 3 games. And when you do that, ideally you'd like to have it where your coach, your GM, and the quarterback are on the same page in terms of if you're drafting someone, it's a guy that they draft. They might bring in a new quarterback, and unless they show some signs of life and win, 9 games, they got to win at least 9. It might be time to fire the coach then, but I got to give them another chance. They did good that first year, bad year last year. I'll give you one more mulligan, and then it's 3 strikes, you're out. And this is the Giants don't want to fire all these coaches. I mean, you had Coughlin in there from 05 to 15, and you probably never should have moved off him at all. Because Coughlin, they were never worse than 6-10. Not that that's any type of shooting off point, but Coughlin's last year, they were 6-10 in 2015, in which I called the most frustrating Giants season, season of all time because they contended in games against the Patriots. They blew it late. They contended against the 15-1 Panthers, which they had to come back down 3 or 4 touchdowns. And Eli threw for like 34 touchdowns to Beckham. Not all to Beckham, but he had Beckham there. That was the most frustrating season of all time as a Giant fan. You got to move off this quarterback, though, not to continue to bring up old history. You had Coughlin. You had Parcells in the 80s. Even Jim Fossil was there for a while. 97 to 03, I think. You had some level of stability. Early 90s, not as much with Reeves and Ray Hanley. But you got to have some level of stability where you can't keep turning over the coach every 2 or 3 years. So I give him one more shot, and Shane showed you he's been able to develop some players. And what you have to be really frustrated with as a Giant fan is the fact that Dexter Lawrence, and I've told this to everyone, I've stood on every mountain, I've screamed it on every podcast, every outlet, every person, quite frankly, walking by in the street who wants to talk Giant football. Dexter Lawrence is the second best player in the NFL. I don't care about position. I don't care that he's not a quarterback. The guy is 360 pounds and has 9 sacks. I mean, come on. You people all have to agree with me. And what's so frustrating, though, is the fact that you're wasting a guy who is just as good right now, not saying forever, but right now as any interior defensive lineman to ever play, to ever walk on this earth. You're wasting his prime. Guy's got 9 sacks. I said this with Aaron Donald, okay? It's one thing to put up these big sack numbers as a rush end. It's another thing to do it from the nose guard or the 3 technique spot that Donald and Dexter Lawrence are doing. It's another thing to take on double teams consistently and be dominant. Dexter Lawrence is doing that. He's got 6 sacks in the last 3 games. He's 360 pounds. He's a 3-down lineman, despite the fact that he, again, is 360 pounds. And you're just throwing away his prime, throwing it all away because you can't put a competitive team around the best defensive player in football. Best defensive player in football, second best player in the NFL. Mahomes is number 1 until he shows me otherwise. And I don't care about numbers with Patrick Mahomes. Not about that. Mahomes has reached the point where I don't care about the numbers. Turn on the game in the fourth quarter. And again, we'll use this great Christopher Mad Dog Russo line. 1 game for your life. Who do you want? Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes. No one else in the world that you want. Not Brady, not Montana, not Bradshaw. Don't care. You want Mahomes. So Mahomes is not getting knocked off that spot. All right, now the Knicks real quick before we wrap this up here. I'm not worried. Knicks play tonight in about an hour here. Not worried about that 1 game with Boston. Listen, they shot the lights out, 29 out of 61 from 3 points for the Celts. Not worried about it. Not worried about Bridges' little hitch in his jump shot. He'll figure it out. If not, he'll go hustle, go play great defense, and do his thing. Not worried about the fact that for Minnesota, Julius Randle dropped 33 last night. Don't matter. You want to win the title. That's a big, aggressive move that you make to bring in Karl-Anthony Towns and give the team a little bit of time to gel together. OG Anunoby's a better power forward than Randle overall anyway, in terms of what this team needs. I'm not worried about anything. I mean, you have Cat, gives you more space for big body Brunson to drive the floor, get to the paint. Because now you don't have that big man with Towns right there next to the paint, because Towns, of course, can spread the floor and shoot for a big. We all know that. So I'm not worried about the Knicks. Here's the thing. I'm not as into the Knicks right now because of the fact that the Yankees are in the World Series. We'll do more of these in which we'll break down games. We'll get real into the Knicks. But right now, got a Yankee World Series game in an hour and 38 minutes. So let's go Yankees tonight. Let's end on that. Let's go Yankees. Schloss Rant live, Philly suburbs. If you're listening to this, hopefully on Spotify, if you listen to this, hopefully there's enough insight about the whole Yankee World Series, about the Giants' positioning, and about where the Knicks are right now. Schloss Rant live, Philly suburbs. See you later, everybody.